everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Women of Substance. My name is Annette Johnson. I am one of the hosts, and I'm joined by Mary Angela Baker and Nancy Rodriguez Weller. Hello, ladies.
Hello, welcome everyone to our
Oh,
show. We are going to have a great discussion today.
We're so excited. I've been anticipating this conversation with our special guest today, City Administrator of Salisbury, Julia Glanz, who is in the acting mayor role at this time. And so we have been anticipating this interview today to talk with her and to learn more about her as a leader and what she's doing in this key role at this time, and a little bit about her path and her journey that led her here. So without further ado, we're going to welcome City Administrator of Salisbury, Julia Glanz.
Hey,
hello,
Julia,
everybody. Hello. Hi,
welcome.
Julia.
Now, I
Well,
think the first thing that you notice is that Julia is very young. Let's just put that out there, is that she is a very young, aspiring leader who has stepped into some fabulous leadership opportunities.
welcome, Julia. How are you?
Thank you. I am doing well. I am young, but my gray hair are coming in thick. So don't be fooled.
What do you say? Don't let these gray hairs fool you.
Uh,
So
Right.
we have been anticipating this conversation. So glad that you found time in your busy schedule to join us. This has been some year, 2020, and we're down to the last final days, an unprecedented time and a time of many unexpected events and turns in our country and in the world. So our first formal question to you is, how are you and how is your family?
Well, thank you for having me and for thinking of me for your show. I'm doing well. It has been a crazy year, but the majority of the days are good and really good. And I'm my family and I are really lucky to have done well in 2020, because there are so many families that certainly aren't having struggling to feed themselves, to pay their rent, you name it, are sick or have lost somebody. And overall, we've both my wife and I, our families have done well. And we're all fully employed, and so we can't complain. So it's been a certainly a mentally challenging year for everybody, and in different ways, but we're all happy and healthy, so no complaints here.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. Before we do a deep dive with our questions, I follow you on social media. Don't know if you know that or not. And I look forward to your baked goods posts. And I'll tell you, there are times where water is building up in my mouth. It looks so yummy and so delicious. So tell me, how did you develop this passion for baking? And if you ever need a taste tester, I'm your girl.
All right, it's good to know. I do need taste testers. I do a route after I bake and do some porch deliveries and things like that.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I baked chocolate chip cookies when I was a teenager, and sold them on the side of the street by my house. And so I hadn't really baked since then, not in any real way. And so I started making sourdough like everyone in America in early spring when everybody was stuck at home. And it's just sort of evolved. And I find it really interesting to learn about different cultures through their baking. And I'm obsessed with the Great British Baking Show, so I get a lot of inspiration there. But it's been fun. It's a different challenge, and I give it away. So hopefully I'm not too much on the COVID-19 track, but it's something fun, and it keeps my mind busy and off work, so it's good.
Well, the presentation is impeccable. Everything looks delicious, and the way you present it, it's just beautiful. So we're going to talk a little bit more about your journey and your path. So I know that you're an Salisbury University alum, and you've had a number of leadership positions at the university as a student and as a graduate, and you were appointed as a city administrator for Salisbury. Tell us a little bit about that journey, and is there anything in particular from the Salisbury University experience that you think prepared you for this role?
Well, so I owe so much to SU. It is a place that if you want to get involved and lead and go far, you can. There is the space to do that, and in a safe way. So I think I wouldn't be where I am today without Salisbury University and the mentors that I had on campus, and the experiences with student government and the graduate student council, and learning to work with different people, different students, all different types of students, to work with professionals. We worked with administrators, we worked with landlords and community leaders. So it just sort of was a natural place for me to build upon in my work with the city of Salisbury. And I remember when I was a student, trying to figure out what was next. And, I would always say, if I could just do student government in real life, that's what I would do. And this is student government in real life on, a grander scale. But it enabled me to learn how to make mistakes and learn how to grow, in a way that wasn't too detrimental, compared to now. So I'm so grateful for my experiences at SU and cherish the memories. And I try to give back to SU as much as I can. I'm on the alumni board, and want to see SU do as well as it can.
Now, I know that you were appointed as city administrator. Can you tell us a little bit about what is that process, and how did you become appointed?
Sure. Well, first, under the administration of Jim Ireton, when he was mayor, I was hired as the assistant city administrator. So went through an interview process. The mayor hired me, mayor and city administrator. And so I was in that role for about 2 years. And then my previous boss, Tom Stevenson, decided he wanted to take a step back and take off the ties and get more in the field. So he's our director of field ops now. But that process then was an interview process, a national search, and went through a hiring panel with our team. And then the mayor put my name forward before the city council to be confirmed, like a Senate confirmation hearing, although not as scary. But so they asked me some questions and then, gave me the thumbs up. And I'm the only at-will position in the city of Salisbury. So that's, different from all my other colleagues. But I love working with our team, and I'm so grateful for the mayor for giving me the opportunity and council to serve.
So what was the hardest part of the interview process? Because we often hear that the interviewing is, like you said, it's a scary process. We get nervous. And a lot of times you have questions that come at you that you weren't expecting.
Yeah, I think for me, I like to be really prepared. And so I want to, if there's a way to know the questions beforehand, you want to be prepared and put your thoughts down on paper. So going through that process and thinking through what are those questions going to be most likely, and talking through them out loud to yourself, to others, is what I have done. And then, personally, I was 27. I was very young, and just, we all have self-doubt and just thinking, what if there's somebody that's, older and wiser than me that comes in and takes the job, so battling with that confidence bit a little bit was a challenge. But I sold them.
Yeah.
Julia, in this position, what has surprised you the most about your role?
About my role,
what have you learned about yourself?
Sure.
Now that you're in this position?
Well, I think, it has been a wild year. So I think, overall, just again, it's been a confidence boost for myself. When the mayor left, I knew that it was a potential for many years. He was in the National Guard, so it's always a possibility. And then as it got closer and closer, I got a little bit more nervous, because you just don't know what's going to happen and how people are going to react. And I think just now knowing that, I think I can handle anything. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're managing as well as I think anybody can. You know, we're keeping our staff at the forefront of all of our decisions and our citizens, which I'm so incredibly proud of. So I think moving forward, I can tackle almost anything, which you know is a good thing to know.
So I want to back up just a little bit because you are city administrator, and the mayor, as you said, is with the National Guard, and he was called up to duty right in the middle of the pandemic.
Yep.
So I was gonna say, if you could have one facial expression that when you heard he was being called up, but the result of that is that you are now acting mayor. And so what is the difference between being a city administrator and the acting mayor?
So in our form of government, in a mayor council form of government, the mayor is essentially the CEO of the city, and I, as city administrator, was sort of the COO, the chief operating officer. So I manage the day-to-day business. The mayor's in charge of the vision and setting our course. I've got to make it happen. So you know, was in the weeds a little bit more in the role of city administrator, and now as I've stepped into the role of acting mayor, knowing that I need to be the voice, the picture of Salisbury. I need to exude that confidence to know for our citizens to know that, you know, we're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We're going to do it together. It's going to be tough, but you know, we're going to be there alongside them and tell them, you know, whatever information we have, or that we don't have any new information, which has been really key in COVID. So that's sort of the difference. The day-to-day, it's a lot more interviews. It's a lot more things like this, interviews with the news, and then our 5 p.m. updates, which are really important for our citizens to check in and to hear what's going on. So we're proud of that. So that's a little bit of the difference.
You know, I love the updates on Facebook, and I think leaders in positions like yours, whether it's at the local level or more broad, I think it's what helps is those updates and having that open line of communication where I'm not even a resident of Salisbury, but I look forward to those updates because I'm married to an elected official, so I know I've seen that from another side of what that leadership looks like and all that's entailed. And I really appreciate and respect leaders who take the time to get out in front of their constituents in the community and just share what they know. And if they don't know, they don't know. You know, I think it helps bring a sense of confidence and trust and ease to the community. But I want to ask, when we talked about this show and started producing it, one of the qualities of a woman of substance was being able to leverage her strengths, but also not being afraid to identify and build upon areas that needed, you know, some work or development. So my question to you is, which strengths have you relied on in this new role as acting mayor? What are some strengths what are some skills or qualities that you realize, you know what, this is a strength, I'm good at this, and you've leveraged that?
Yeah, I think there's a couple for me, and they're the strengths that I'm most proud of for myself. One being empathy, and one being my ability to listen. And I think any good leader should have those qualities, and it's benefited me really well, and it has enabled me to develop trust with our team. We've got 425 employees in the city, and have been able to build really strong relationships with them and know that they can come and talk to me at any time. And, you know, just trying to come with an empathetic lens to everything that we do, any policy that we set for our own team. You know, it has been a crazy year, and we have tried to put our team, their families first all the time. And it, you know, there are many places that can't afford to do that. You know, we early on, you know, if folks had to take care of kids at home, you're taking care of your kids at home. We're gonna, as much work as you can do, but shouldn't have to worry about doing double duty or making tough choices about, the health of your kid and your family. So, trying to put in place really, family first policies, which have been really appreciated through staff. Let's just take one thing off of our team's plate to worry about. And so, we're really proud of that approach. And I think, just folks need an opportunity to listen sometimes, whenever it is, and being that sounding board, and to be able to, reflect back on what you're hearing and try to just, give them some perspective has been really key for me. And so.
How much of your day-to-day has been face-to-face with people, and how much of it has been online? And so when you say we, the team, how much of it is doing it through the Zoom meeting?
The majority of it has been online. We have been really conservative in our approach of bringing staff back. We've got, the bare bones that need to be in the building are in the building, but we don't want to, so we have a tight office space from the 1970s. And so we don't want to sardine our team back together just to be together. This medium, we're all getting really used to it, and it is effective in most ways. So I'd say, I go in, once or twice a week for a couple hours to sign papers that need to be signed in person and things like that. But the majority of us are all that can be at home are at home. So, the executive team and our department directors are mainly at home. But we've gotten used to it. We're getting good at it.
So Julia, I love this new phrase since Vice President-elect Kamala Harris was identified as our incoming vice president. And it's, ladies, put your shoes on because there is glass everywhere. I absolutely love it.
Yep.
So do you view yourself as a glass ceiling breaker or trailblazer? Why or why not?
Well, I will share that I did share that graphic on when we found out about the election, because it is, no matter what your political persuasion is, it's quite a historical moment for all of us. So,
Yeah.
It's a strange question, but I guess when I take a step back, yes to those things, because I was the youngest city administrator to be appointed. I was the first female and the first lesbian in those things, and in Salisbury on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Those things don't happen often, so it's a lot of firsts, and certainly I'm proud of those. But it's this balance, of trying to keep it all in perspective.
So
and the reality is there are aspects of our society that still impose their limiting beliefs about women in leadership roles.
Right.
How do you handle any opposition or resistance, especially now, in the acting mayor capacity?
Yeah, it can be challenging, and I think it's more broadly than just being a female in this role. It's the ideology that I carry with me every day to try to build a more inclusive team and a more inclusive city that is forward thinking, at least what I think is forward thinking. And so you've got to be true to your values and what you believe is right. And again, if I'm not doing that, then I'm not going to be sleeping at night. And I sleep quite well most nights. And I think, I don't know how I'm able to do it, but I let the negativity and the criticism roll off my back. Somehow I'm able to, laugh it off, and I don't know how, but I am grateful that I am able to. I will share that there were, the first couple weeks of this gig in June, we were dealing with, George Floyd's murder, and, trying to figure out how our community responds. And there was a lot of heat that I took from sides that I didn't expect. And I think that was probably the most challenging for me, thinking that I would have support from certain groups, and realizing that it wasn't there for certain reasons. But you're the people that are never going to agree with you, so I don't waste much time on them, but trying to understand how to come to the middle more with some of those folks that I thought would be on the same page was a good early learning experience for me.
But
So-
Julia, you know what? You ran with some of those hot topics like facing Black Lives Matter and all of that. I really respected that you know brought that out in the open. I've got a question. Do you think that you know one of your strong assets I see is communication? You do communicate very well with the general public. Do you think that communicating with the people of Salisbury would have been different if it were handled by a male counterpart versus you being in the female and being in politics? Do you think that that impacted your decision making, or you know how you brought up you know some of these really tough subjects?
Well, Mayor Day and I have very similar, views on the world and our thoughts of the city that we want to be. So I think we would have, been in the same place. I know he would have organized the same type of event for renaming Broad Street and things like that. Certainly there are other, you look anywhere else on the Eastern Shore and that's not the case. But I think that's more just for, not gender, it's more just ideology. But I think, the mayor and I, we have different communication styles. We get to the same result, but our approach is a little different. But I think we would have been, we are in lockstep on all of these important issues that are facing our community.
So what did you learn from him that you're saying, okay, this was an example of being a good role model, and I'm going to take those strengths that he has and use them as I step into the acting mayor role?
Well, I think, communication in general, he believes in over communicating, and that, you push out your message hard enough and long enough and people are going to start believing it, which is true. We've seen that with Salisbury, if you go back 15 years, the sort of belief and feelings that people had, the self-esteem that citizens had of Salisbury, of their community, was very much in a negative light. And starting with Jim Ireton and then with Jake, that perception and that feeling started to change, and much of it was Jake just beating it in people's heads, saying what he saw to be true, and then we all started to see it about our downtown and our community in general. And so making sure that we're keeping up with that communication rhythm, and then again, he doesn't pay any mind to the people that are gonna throw stones. And so I have done my best to keep up with that as well.
I think that's a great quality. One of my mentors from early on in my career, one of the lessons was don't take things personal, because when people come at you, so to speak, it's from their limited perspective. And it really, at the end of the day, has nothing to do with you. And that's a really hard lesson to learn. It took me a long time to be able to internalize and process that, because it does feel personal.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great quality. I had the pleasure of meeting you for the first time, this time last year, at Salisbury University. And I remember you and Mayor Jake had the annual employee meeting. And I remember standing at the door in the large conference room, and people coming in, and there was such a positive energy. People were smiling, like you could literally feel the energy. They were smiling, they were talking, they were greeting each other. And so I just want to applaud you and Mayor Jake on all of your efforts, your leadership qualities, and your vision for Salisbury. It's a beautiful, charming little town. I've never been a resident, worked there for a short period of time, but I have this affection for Salisbury, and I've had the pleasure of meeting Mayor Jake and absolutely adore him as well. So one of the final questions for you, two final questions. One real quick is for women who are interested in moving into government and maybe starting with their local government. What type of advice would you give them in terms of preparing for their pursuit?
Well, we realize that some women are going to hit some roadblocks. So again, I think it's going back to, what's right, what is making you tick and move forward. And so you've got to keep that front and center and do what you believe in, and, work for an organization that you believe in as well. There's certainly any organization, any government that may not align with your views. So if you're able to find that place that is a good fit, that's, I feel at home. I don't, people ask what's next, and I say, I'm perfectly happy here. And, there's new challenges every day. Why would I go someplace else? It doesn't make sense. I love my job. So I think if you're able to find that type of place, that's where you want to be. And then again, to the folks that want to throw stones, forget them. They're not worth your time and energy.
Yeah. And my final question is, so I've been married 36 years. My husband started out in local government, and he's been an elected official for the past 15 years. We've had a lot of crucial conversations about work-life balance because passion and purpose and politics can sometimes bring significant imbalance. So how do you manage work and life and being married
and taking care of your dogs?
And all that good stuff.
The funny farm here, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard. I don't know if I don't think the work-life balance thing is a real thing. I think it's probably a pendulum that swings back and forth. It's something that I need to work on every day, because in my specific role, there is no 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. And especially now that we're working from home, I think many of us that are working from home, it's harder to turn it off because it's right there, whether you're working at the dining room table or the office bedroom upstairs, right. It's there. So it's something that I try to work with. And, I get called out on it from time to time. Even this morning, my wife asked me, it was like 7:20, and she's, are you working already? Going on my phone. It's like, no, not. So it's something that, I talk about with my therapist to try to, manage, daily. It's something that we all have to keep at the forefront of our minds, because it can be consuming. And especially in my role, if I wanted to work every hour of the day, there's plenty of things that I could do, but you just have to realize that, it is going to be there tomorrow. You put out the fires as best as you can, and then you got to call it a day and go bake something.
And it sounds like you have a really great team that you work with, and you're able to delegate things to also.
We do. Our team is incredible, and they have all stepped up so much. Andy Kitzer is my deputy city administrator, and I wouldn't have survived this year without him and the rest of the team. So I'm so grateful for them.
Wow. Any final words or questions, ladies, before we wrap up?
I just, my final word is that if people do want to get involved with their local government, that they can just Google, this town, and if it's a Democrat Party, the Republican Party, that's one way of getting involved. That you don't have to think that, there's committees. The Census Committee, I know, just wrapped up, and it was comprised of maybe 50 different professionals from across the city who are involved on getting the census done. So there are ways of being involved with government that you don't have to be an elected official or a paid staff person, and you can help make your place better. We had talked about the program here in Maryland called Emerge Maryland that helps get women elected. So there are many different ways that if you want to be involved, you can, and just ask. I think that's the best thing to say, is just ask your colleagues and neighbors. So.
And again, Julia, we just want to say thank you so much.
Yes.
We know how busy you are, and there's just so many competing priorities right now, but we really appreciate you taking time to be a part of Women of Substance today. And we applaud you, Mayor Jake, your team, on all the great work that you're doing. And we want to wish you and your wife and your family a very healthy, happy, prosperous, peaceful, joy-filled.
Uneventful, maybe. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you all. I appreciate you.
Julia.